right, so we are live at NAIHC, and with me is Caroline LaPorte. Can you just go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I, Caroline LaPorte, I use she, her pronouns. I am an immediate descendant of the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians in Manistee, Michigan. I actually used to work for the Seminole Tribe of Florida as a judicial advisor and attorney in your tribal court. And I have since joined the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center, where I previously was as the director of the new Safe Housing Center, which we call STARS.
And that is a perfect segue into what we're going to be discussing today. So can you go ahead and just tell me a little bit about STARS and just how the journey is for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did this work around housing, my colleague Gwen Packard and I, and she's been a long time advocate in the movement to end violence against Native women, but has also been at NIWRC since it started. And so Gwen and I started working together when I was on the policy team and she was a member of the TA team. And we were working on housing largely unfunded. So we would convene a national work group with some other federal partners and some other national partners. And then over the course of like 3 years, we realized that the ask was going to be that feds fund a separate tribal capacity center to focus really on gender-based violence and housing insecurity and homelessness, just right at that intersection. So we made that ask in a couple policy briefs, and with the support of, again, some national partners that we work with, we were able to get the funding, or at least they released new funding. We applied for it, we got it. And we've been in operation for like 2.5 years now. So yeah, we're in our 3rd year of funding, and we're really just a national resource center that does TTA policy work, any sort of training, technical assistance people need around housing insecurity and gender-based violence. That's what we're here for.
So this is absolutely incredible because this is something I feel like we don't hear at all in Indian countries. So before we dive into all of that, how can you even sign up for the technical assistance? How does that work?
Yeah, so actually we have a really easy website to access. You just go to niwrc.org/housing, and then there is a little button right at the top of our page that just says request TTA. And if you do that, it will go straight into our ticketing system, and our program assistant, Brianna, who's amazing, will forward it out to the team. Then we discuss it and we make sure that it gets responded to quickly.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely incredible. And we will have that link down below so everyone can access it super easy. Is there any other important links that they should know about on your website?
I think just the regular niwrc.org page is really great. Obviously, we're like a resource center within a resource center, right? So HHS funds a bunch of domestic violence resource networks and centers, and the center that STARS works within is the larger organization of NIWRC. So I think if you're looking for something that's like more broad TTA, so let's say that you might not need help with transitional housing or rapid rehousing, or maybe you don't need to open up a DV shelter because you already have one, but you're struggling with getting protection orders enforced. NIWRC has like a broad range of individuals that are subject matter experts to help with that. So I think just the regular niwrc.org page is great.
That's incredible. So it seems like not only do you have resources, but if you don't have it, you're going to find someone that absolutely does have it.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there any way that anyone can contact you or ask you for help?
Yeah, absolutely. So through the website, but also through our social media. So you can follow us at Safe Housing for All with the number 4, not FOR. And certainly through my email, which I'm happy to give, actually. It's C and then LaPorte, like my last name, at niwrc.org.
Really, because like I said earlier, you don't really hear about this in Indian country. So what was that journey like, getting it known and talked about?
I think it was harder at first because, again, there was no money attached to it. So we're really kind of doing it just from an administrative perspective. But I feel like bringing together the national work group really created the impetus for the center to be created. And I feel really proud of the fact that we've kept that national work group going and that they really serve like in an advisory capacity to us, just to make sure that our work is survivor centered and that we're prioritizing, the needs of Indian country around these issues. But the other thing that I would say sort of about my journey, I guess, to make it more personal, is that I myself am a sexual assault and stalking survivor. And even as an attorney or an associate judge, right, like gender-based violence can impact anybody. And so I feel like this work is just very important. I actually haven't met a Native person or a Native woman who hasn't told me that there was some history of gender-based violence in their past. And I feel like when people can kind of understand the connection between gender-based violence and housing insecurity, then you are better informed and better able to assist people within the community. So it's work that we're really proud of. One of the things that we did this year was we actually filed. Another thing that I do is that I'm on the board of directors for Strong Hearts Native Helpline. Yeah, I'm the president of their board. And we, STARS and Strong Hearts and the Alaska Native Women's Resource Center and then NIWRC and the Alliance for Tribal Coalitions, we all filed an amicus brief in the Grants Pass v. Oregon case that the Supreme Court is actually set to rule on today, I think. I wonder if the opinion's out. I haven't checked. That case is regarding whether or not like local ordinances can really criminalize being unhoused. And so I think this is another thing that we see. And I think for like our second and a half year, I guess, to be able to file an amicus brief was a big win for us at the U.S. Supreme Court. So I feel like uplifting that's important. And also it's highly relevant because that case is coming out, today, I believe. So we'll see. Yeah.
I have to keep my eyes out for that one.
Yeah, another interesting case that actually the court just ruled on that we also filed an amicus brief in that NIWRC did through our VAWA Sovereignty Initiative, which Mary Catherine Nagel files the briefs for. We filed in the Rahimi case, which has to do with the access of firearms by domestic violence abusers. And that we were very happy to see that the Supreme Court upheld the provision that keeps guns out of abusers' hands. So yeah, it's just another thing to keep people's eye on, I guess, for your podcast. Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything else that our listeners should keep their eyes out or anything you would like to share?
I think so. I feel like a big issue that's going on right now that I'm sure most programs are feeling, and it might not necessarily be impacting public housing or housing in Indian country necessarily, like through your Indian block grants, but it's certainly impacting any sort of like domestic violence services. And if there's transitional housing for DV or SA survivors within your community, the VOCA dollars have essentially been cut in half by Congress. And that has been a huge impact to people. I've already met with a few grantees who are really struggling because they have to basically make up a huge loss of funding that they have otherwise really needed to rely on to meet people's needs in their tribal communities.
Wow. So this is like a major dominant effect.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very sad to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a bill to keep your eye on. I think it's the VOCA Stabilization Act or the Crime Victims Fund Stabilization Act. And I would just keep an eye on it. I think it's important to just be aware of and to just at least know about the potential impacts that it can have to some of the like multidisciplinary spaces that we all work in.
No, absolutely. Thank you for talking about it and bringing the awareness. Before I would like to end on a little happier note is I know there's a very broad scope of everything that you guys focus on and all the services you provide. Is there any way that you could list just a couple of them off the top of your head?
About what we do specifically?
Yes.
Yeah, so as a national TTA like provider, similar to what the Native Learning Center is actually, we don't do direct services. But one of the things that we've done this year, well, the past 2.5 years actually, we have funded listening sessions with survivors. So if this is something that people are interested in having us come out, we do a $200 gift card per survivor. We spend about an hour and a half of time with them. This is not something we're doing like an IRB or any sort of like formal research on, but we're really just trying to uplift survivors' voices in the policy space. So that's really how we utilize that information. And then certainly we'll come out for a site visit and help out if you need anything. We also do a lot of awareness activities around missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and relatives. We just finished up our National Week of Action, actually. And we do Boarding School Awareness Month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is, of course, October. Really all the main national events. But yeah, I mean, anything that anybody wants us to come out and do, site visit, conference, listening sessions, if you just want to bounce some ideas off of us, that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. And once again, if anyone wants to contact you guys or reach, how could they do so?
Yeah, just go to www.niwrc.org/housing and then just hit contact us and sign up for our listserv. We have a listserv. We would love it for people to sign up.
Absolutely. We'll have all the links down below. Thank you very much for being open and honest with us on the Hope Thing and Natives podcast. And once again, thank you for bringing the awareness. And I hope to have you back on here.
Absolutely. I would love to.